you have to speak a bit slowly for me at the moment, and then it might come normal.
Okay, I'll try and speak clearly and slowly.
And enunciate as your parents would want you to.
Will do, yes. Okay. So yeah. Okay, so I think we can make a start. So welcome everybody to this watch along of Catweazle. We're going to obviously watch the Magic Circle and the 13th Sign. So I think everyone has the DVD set that came out, I think about 10 years ago now. So I've got mine ready on the Magic Circle on the chapter index. And the first one is the sign of the fist, and so I would just sort of click on that to start us off. So Renée, you're not going to be watching the episodes with us. We'll just be talking through.
No, I don't watch the episodes with you. I just do guess along.
Okay, yeah. So did you have a look at some of the episodes I sent you, just to give you a flavour of the?
Yeah, I mean, I have everything in my head. As long as you just give me the little hint. I'm just going to get Spartacus, who's banging.
Okay, perfect.
Come on. There's a good boy. There's a good boy. There's a good boy.
Okay. So yeah, if everybody's hopefully at the right place, I'll just do a little brief introduction. So there's a couple of people that are new tonight that haven't seen our other events. So I'll just say for those that might not know your work, which is quite extensive.
That may well be.
So obviously, apart from obviously things like the one for Catweazle, you started your career out on things like Brief Encounter, Season Cleopatra, and obviously very good credits such as Just William, the '67 version of Casino Royale with David Niven and Peter Sellers, the wonderful Around the World in 80 Days, the TV miniseries starring Pierce Brosnan, Delta Force 2, a bit of a cult classic. What is any credits that you want to add, Renée? Some of your favourites?
Well, Before the Rain is very much a favourite of mine, done in Macedonia.
Oh yeah, Before the Rain. We should mention Women Review, of course, that being a very good Merchant Ivory production.
Well, of course.
Excellent film, that one. And I'm sure we'll probably, as we always do, we'll probably have some chats about various things in your career. So using Catweazle as the basis, but of course we'll just see how the spirit takes us. I'm
happy to live just Catweazle for hours on end.
Oh, good. Well, in that case, we should should have plenty of material then. So that's fantastic. So if everybody's ready to press play, I'll do a little countdown from 5, and we'll all press play on the first episode. And then then there'll probably a little break, and then we'll wrap up anything. We'll talk about this particular episode, and then we'll press play on the next one. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play. Okay. So Renée, had you seen the first series of Catweazle before you then worked on the second one?
No, not any.
And how did it sort of fall into your lap? Because obviously it was a different sort of crew compared to.
Yes, it was really a totally different producer. That was how it happened, really. And I got there through him, whose name at this moment, Carl Manning.
Carl Manning. Yeah. Oh yes, his name just popped on the screen. Yeah.
Yes, and I did lots of stuff with him, and he was doing this series, and so he just asked me. I did know about the series, and my partner previously to that was the camera operator on the first series. Oh, wow. So he had some stills which I saw, and I saw the boy, and of course we didn't have the same boy, and it was a totally different concept, really.
Oh yes. I mean, apart from the first episode being fairly similar to the first episode of series 1 in terms of coming to the present, it is pretty much a very different sort of feel to the series. And of course, a lot of it's filmed on location. Do you have any particular fond memories of location work for Catweazle?
Well, I mean, every day was exciting, except for the journey, of course.
Oh yeah.
And the locale. I mean, it was it was a very pleasant place to work out of and into and from. And what's really strange is a little boy aged about 9 used to visit us on the exteriors and walk with this father who was the elder to another building which was attached to our location, and the father was a scientist and he worked in that building. So this little boy was 9, 10 or 11, is a fellow artist on Bayswater Road with me, and so we we reminisce. I mean, I was 40, I suppose, and he now is 50. But I was 40 then. I'm not 40 anymore, unfortunately.
So obviously, we have a very fantastic cast with Catweazle. Obviously, Jeffrey Belden being the fantastic lead. What's your memories of Jeffrey?
Oh, just joyous. I mean, gentleman, amusing, kind, proficient, and he was Catweazle from the moment that he was on the set. I mean, he no longer was Jeffrey; he was Catweazle.
It's quite a performance, isn't it? Sort of the very intricate and very layered. And obviously, Richard Carpenter obviously wrote the series. Did you have?
I mean, I have a vision of how he looked, so he must have visited us, but I didn't ever really speak to him, I don't think.
And was Jeffrey one of those people that stayed in character throughout the day, or did he sort of pop in and out?
No, I don't think he stayed in character.
I think it'd be quite difficult to really to do.
Well, yes, it would have been impossible to function, really.
Yeah, absolutely. He obviously has his companion Touchwood, the frog. Did that pose any continuity problems in terms of working with animals?
I'm good at animal continuity, and I'm good at children continuity as well.
And what? How is it different with children and animals, and how do you become good at that side of it?
Well, you have to have an agreement with the director of what's in, what you're going to need for continuity and what you can ignore, because you can't cover everything that an animal or a child does.
So you've got to have quite a fluid approach and not be too.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose as an assistant continuity years and years ago, it would have been very daunting, and one wouldn't have realized that you can only watch just so much, but you have to find out what to watch and what you don't have to watch. The same applies to dining scenes. 20 actors sitting around a table all eating.
Yes.
So you have to find out who you've got to worry about.
I mean, obviously, this is obviously a very impressive cast. We're currently looking at Peter Butterworth as sort of the groundskeeper, keeper of the house. Do you remember anything about Peter Butterworth?
I'd worked with him before. That's all I can say. And he was, this very nice man. And I think he actually lived locally to me, and was seen in the streets of Pinner or Hatch End or wherever it was that he lived. He was very, very, very nice man, very competent. I remember him, I think, from the William film.
Oh, right, yeah. Because obviously,
well, he was a Val Guest favourite, so I guess I was with Guest and Peter Butterworth quite a bit.
Because obviously he was quite famous at this point with the Carry On films. So I suppose it was the popularity of Catweazle that you could have these big names in the show. I was just thinking about, do you have any other recollections of the main cast? And obviously we have.
Only if you prompt me.
Well, I think it's Moray Watson as the.
Murray Watson and wife, who his wife was Brian Ricks's actual proper wife, and they became rather my friends actually, particularly. What is the name of
his wife in the story.
Yeah.
Elspeth Gray.
Yes, Elspeth. Yes. Yeah. Lovely person.
I think also quite famous for being Blackadder's mother in the first Blackadder of Rowan Atkinson. She played that well, so I recognise her from. And Moray Watson, as you say, was lovely as well. And
yeah, I don't remember him, personally.
Personally, yeah. Obviously, you mentioned working with children earlier. What was it like to work with the actor who played Cedric?
He was fantastic. He was a very, very mature, whatever age he was, as an actor and a person and the character. I mean, he was great. He was great. A little kind of, pseudo intellectual.
Yes. Did you have the issues back in those days of children could only work a certain number of hours, and therefore you had to do things?
Yeah, we didn't work long hours, partly because everybody had a journey. Nobody lived out there. So we did rap on, rap time.
So obviously most of it was obviously shot on location. Then you would come into, I think it was Shepperton. I think this one, or it might be, I think it might be Shepperton, might be now Pinewood possibly.
I'll have to think. I can't remember if we went into a major studio or whether we shot everything in the house as if it was.
It does look like most of it probably was done on location. I don't know whether.
I mean, in my head, everything was on location.
Everything, yeah.
And I would stick to that unless we absolutely proved that it was also in a major studio. I don't think it was.
Yeah.
We might have at the end been on a stage doing inserts or something, but I don't even remember that.
Because one of the things you showed me in preparation for this evening was the port department. I think you said it was Pinewood who did like a little cast of Catweazle and.
Yes, so that kind of proves that we were connected with Pinewood.
Yeah.
Unless because the plasterers at Pinewood were my friends, so it's possible that we didn't shoot there, but I went with my casting. I mean, they were my models that they were doing, so it could be unrelated to shooting there actually.
So the model was a model that you made of.
Yeah, I made out of clay.
Yeah. And
I take that to the plasterer's shop, and they make a mold, and then they do copies.
And you said that Jeffrey bought one.
Yes, yeah, which was very nice. I mean, I sort of would have given him one.
Yeah.
But he, asked could he buy one, so I didn't actually just give it to him.
Yeah, it's a lovely thing for him to have.
It was very nice. I think actually that I cast the one that I gave him was not in plaster. It was metal filings. So it looks like it's bronze.
Yeah.
But I don't seem to have one of those anymore, so I'm not sure what happened. But it wouldn't have been just that white plaster one that's replica behind me. It would have been cast in something much better.
Oh yeah. I mean, perhaps when we get to the end of the episode, perhaps I don't know if we could have a little closer look at your plaster one. And just
I mean, I think it's an absolute replica of Catweazle himself, but of course we'll see that the proportions are wrong, or his I couldn't get his curl on his head. I actually, in his honour, I've got my own sticky up.
Very good, yeah. So I think we mentioned most of the sort of the main cast. We've also got the housekeeper.
We had Bill Owen come in on an episode.
Oh yes, yes.
And I'd known him, when he was much younger, many years during wartime. I'd first met him. He was doing a documentary for an embassy, and I met him then, but I didn't really know him, and I got to know him very well out of Catweazle. We became friends almost till he died.
I'm just thinking about the special guest for this episode, because obviously it's a psychiatrist that sort of thinks that Peter Butterworth is losing his mind seeing Catweazle, and obviously he then sees it for himself and discovers actually that it's all true. Just trying to think who the name of the person was actually. I did have it written down. Oh yes, Derek Godfrey as Dr. Vernick. I don't know if you remember.
Don't remember him as person really.
Because obviously one of the big parts of this episode is a frantic chase with lots of cyclists and.
Oh yes.
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 I take that took quite a while to sort of get right, and continuity-wise, one of the biggest jobs on the episode.
There's a police car going by.
I was thinking about. I was just wondering about the directors, because obviously the director for this episode was a guy called David Reed. I don't know if you remember him at all.
No, I liked him very much, and I enjoyed working with him. We had, I suppose, probably 3 directors alternating, and I really so enjoyed all of them. I mean, sometimes on a series, I will like all the directors, but these were particularly lovely.
So I think it was also David Lane who did, I think, a lot of the episodes as well, and obviously he went on to do some of the Superman films, second unit directing and that sort of thing, Superman 3 and 4. Because obviously it was quite a quick shoot, I understand. It was sort of.
Yeah, I don't know what the schedule. I can't remember. But all I know is every day we were working, and then there's a new script, and we would pick up shots from the previous episode and something for a future episode that I didn't even realize we were going to do because we were in that setup.
Yeah.
So I had a trolley, like a shopping trolley, and I kept all my scripts and all my files, and I was a mobile. I've always been just mobile, never had a desk much on a set. And I just go with my trolley, and I've literally got everything I could possibly need. So by the end of a series of 13 or whatever it is, the poor old trolley is bulging.
So I believe it was obviously 13 episodes of the series, but I think it was almost 1 week per episode. I think it was very, very quick. They did it.
Seems like a lifetime to me when I'm on a series, but it isn't.
Obviously being essentially all location based, was that a disadvantage from your perspective, or did you quite like being out and about?
I just knew that I got up in the morning at, I don't know, 6, left at 6:45, and did this 1 hour, I think, journey, and did the same at night. But we never ever worked late like you would normally on a film, a series, or anything, I mean, the hours are awful. But I guess we were on a contract that if we worked overtime, we'd be paid.
Yes.
And they didn't have the money, so they didn't want to do that.
And obviously, being obviously someone who cares about their work, being a perfectionist, did you like working that quickly, or would you have preferred to?
Yeah, because I don't mind working quickly when the day is planned properly by director, cameraman, and everybody, and it's fine. If you're on location and the weather goes and you're suddenly inside and then you're outside because the weather's come better, that is a bit tough for me, because I've got to rejig what we're doing.
Yeah.
But I know it was a very, very pleasant shoot. I was never overtired, just tired at the end of the day, but not overtired at all.
Yeah.
So it was lovely.
Because I think what's quite good about this series, obviously, it's basically one story split into 13 episodes. It's obviously it's very well crafted. Watching it again, obviously, it's very clever how he discovers the different signs of the zodiac. So when you're working on 13 pieces of the same picture, is that more complex from your point of view?
Oh yeah, I know it is. It is. You're in his, like in his den, as it were, and you do a shot for episode 5, which you've hardly seen the script for 5 yet, but because you're there doing episode 3, we're going to steal this matching kind of situation. So everybody just has to be on the ball, and you can cope with anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's one person we didn't mention was the housekeeper, a lady called Gwen Nelson. I don't know if you remember.
Oh her. Yeah, I'd worked with her before, and she was a very solid, really nice woman. She went into character, of course, and then one forgets that she's your drinking friend or whatever.
Yes. So was it the fact that it was obviously all on occasion that made the relationships a bit stronger, because it wasn't?
Well, not really, because we didn't sleep out, as it were, because when you're on location and you're on location and sleeping and so on, it's very different. So we were, end of the day, I don't think we ever had to go to the pub or a drink, because journey back, not to do with drink and driving, but time. So it was wrap, clear up, gone.
I'm just thinking about the continuity in terms of with Jeffrey's characterization of Catweazle. I assume he never did the same thing twice, or how is it in terms of continuity working with Jeffrey in particular?
You mean his gestures or the stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he had his character and his manner and demeanor, and he never lost that. So you had the feeling of continuity without even going there. Once he was acting, and the makeup department were faultless, so they were a great help on the standby if he looked rougher or dirtier or whatever.
I mean, what?
Mentioning the makeup department, there was an experienced makeup female artist, and she had an assistant who'd done very little, and he was very, very good, and he became the Hollywood top makeup artist in the world for a while, and he's still alive, but he was this beautiful young man. He was a version of you when I first met you, with hair and something, and he looked like that, and now he looks like Catweazle. He's
Oh.
got a beard and he's still got hair, but it's like that, and he's like shrunk.
Yeah.
And I saw him in a lineup from an event, and I could not believe it. His name was Peter Rob King. If anybody is listening and might look up his credits, amazing.
I think I'll do the same.
It's ROBB-King.
BB-King.
I mean, he's lucky if he got a screen credit on Catweazle, because he was, such a young trainee virtually. Juve says he's shrinking too. I don't believe it.
I did like how you said he was like the way I used to be when we first met.
Yeah. I had to roll back without trying to hurt you.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I've probably gone off slightly since then.
You've had a haircut. That's really what it is.
Oh yeah, it's amazing how different people look, isn't it? With just some simple changes. I mean, what would be so obviously you say you've got loads of memories with Catweazle, so just we should just pick a few out in terms of what some of your highlights from the series.
It's a personal one, really. In the house there was a knoll suite, couch and chairs.
Yeah.
And at the end of the shoot, they sold off the props, and I bought this beautiful maroon-coloured velvet knoll suite, which eventually fell to pieces. And I had teenage children at the time, and they had some younger friends, and they used to climb on this thing. So eventually it fell apart. But when we look at an episode and we see this lovely furniture, which was looking old at the time because it's like an antique house setting. Yeah. Anyway, it lasted many, many years. And it's only because of now looking at Catweazle that I'm remembering its place back in the back of where I am sitting now by the fireplace, Knoll Suite. Yeah.
Because I think the house I don't think was used, was it, by the time you came
in? I don't know whose house it was, and in what condition it was when we went there, and whether any of the dressing was existed, or whether I really don't know.
I mean, it certainly sounds like from what you were saying that a lot of it was indeed bought in, there's certainly a combination.
Well, the fact that I bought, that they sold off stuff at the end must have been that everything really was a prop. Yeah, because you couldn't let a film unit come in your house and use what furniture you had, because they wear and tear and wreck it. We aren't deliberate wreckers, but they put a lamp somewhere and it not sets fire, but it might damage something.
Yeah.
It shouldn't.
Well, there's a lot of equipment, isn't there? There's lots of people, and over a period of weeks that will add up. And
we're brought up. Film technicians are brought up to respect props and not put cups of tea on places.
Yeah. And
cigarettes. It was days in those days people were smoking like crazy, but not often did they do any damage, only to themselves.
Yes. So I think we'll probably mention props a bit as we go on to the next one. The episode's just finished for those that have been watching it. So before we go into the next one, could we have a look at your plaster cast? Would that be?
I'll get him closer.
Yeah, if that's okay.
Yes, I would be glad to.
Oh, thank you.
He's actually in a bad way and he needs mending. maybe I'll go back a bit.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's good. Yeah.
There he is, and he's always like hopping round, hiding, and just coming out from behind. And there he is. And I've had to kind of give him a bit of a support with some elastic bands today.
Oh yes.
I will mend him. I will mend him. No, he's very, very precious.
Yes, that's lovely. Very detailed and very, very lifelike. Definitely.
Yes. And there's another to look at as well.
Mm-hmm.
What have I done with them? Put it on the wall. So now we need some light, don't we?
Yeah.
That's very, very bad.
Yeah, no, that's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yes, you see it clearly there. Yeah. Yeah, wonderful detail. Wonderful detail.
But balsa wood and a razor blade is what I use. Yeah.
Very impressive.
Yes, and of course they're not reproducible in any way, so it's always like one off, and I can't give. I sometimes can do two at the same time.
Yeah.
But in general, they are one off, and that's it. So how many years? What year are we're talking about?
Yeah, it's about 1970, 71.
Yeah, so that's 30 and 20 years. They're 50 years.
50 years, yeah, yeah.
Which honestly feels like yesterday at this moment. It's extraordinary, really, isn't it? How you can whiz back and feel the same thing that you felt at the time about certain things.
Oh yes, lovely, isn't it, to be able to do that?
Yeah, I'm happy to say I have not any scars in my heart from a mistake or someone not being nice to me or something. I mean, in general, in all the years, I've only got a couple of stab wounds.
Yeah.
But certainly not from Catweazle.
Oh, good. That's good to know. Well, thank you for sharing those your work. It's really
proud to.
Yeah. So would you do that quite often then when you were on a film or TV set? If something inspired you, you would.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've got a whole wall of. You could say it's an autobiography almost. My wall. I could take you up there in a moment of wood carvings that I did along those years of mostly Greek mythology, but other things. And Betty Davis I did from 2 different films, really. And a Tallulah Bankhead kind of in character. So that was instead of writing a book.
Oh yeah, a lovely thing to do.
As we know, as I tell you, that I'm not a writer, I'm a speaker, and people say they're going to write my book for me, with me, and then they are flaky and they disappear.
Well, I suppose in one respect, you've got so much to cover, it becomes quite a
yes,
task.
Yeah. It would be easy if one did it just film by film by film by film, but that's kind of, you don't need to do that. You can Google that information too easily.
That's right.
I just have to say something to you there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Robert J. Simpson is the most flaky person on earth, and he's really just took my life, and he gave me his as well, and he's just sat on it, and it's never going to happen.
Oh, that's a shame. Did you record like the audio recordings of stuff?
Yeah, your audio, everything was audio. It was Skype originally, and then it was him being here for days on end. We shot 5 hours worth of really good stuff, you know,
Yeah.
honest from him. Real, he gave me his life.
Yeah.
Not for writing, but just in conversation. I mean, you know, which was very, very special. And I gave him, you know, every secret you could imagine for the book, or, you know, this is off the cuff. But he's just sat on it.
So you don't have that material?
No, because he was supposed to, you know, transcribe it, send it to me. So I've got about 3 pages.
Oh, that's a shame.
Which was supposed to be like 60 pages. Yeah. Great. I have to stop talking about it now because I've vented my hurt and fury, and I have to put it to rest.
Oh yeah, to move on to nicer subjects. I don't know if you wanted to show us your collection now or after the second episode. What would you prefer?
Oh, yeah. Do you mean my wood carvings?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, no, that'd be lovely. We'll go up there now.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
I have to unplug me. Just have to look at me for the moment.
Happy to do so.
Upside down or whatever. So we're going to go. What should we see? Yes. Okay. Could do with some more light, actually.
Yeah, we can see all that quite nicely. Yes, nicely lit.
I mean, I should get another light on it because I can't see whether it's good or bad.
It looks pretty good. I don't know if you go slightly closer to a few of them, but the lighting's pretty good actually.
I feel that I have to go and put a light on.
Okay. Very nice indeed. So is there any particularly there that sort of have particular strong stories?
I'm trying to think if there's anything film. There isn't really.
Do you have a favourite amongst those?
I'm not sure what you're seeing and whether it's.
Oh yeah, it's coming across quite nicely.
There's some there that we can't really see properly. But anyway, I feel that that's probably done it.
Oh yeah, it gives a lovely idea of your work. Very impressive, yes.
Yes. I think we just have to have me for the moment.
Oh yeah, we're happy with you.
Yes. That's sort of Santorini.
Yeah.
And that was oh God, a Jack Gold, The Catholics.
Right. Yeah.
That was Trevor Howard.
You just go slightly to the left, or sorry, if you just go slightly, if you go back to where we were, we didn't quite see all of it in shot. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, very nice. That's lovely.
Up there is the screen.
Oh yes.
And oops. Down here, I don't think they're connected with film there. The Ottoman Empire, he's down there.
Oh yeah.
Well, I fell in love with Turkey before I'd been to Greece, and when I met Greeks, they'd say, "Have you been to Greece?" I said, "Oh no, I've been to Turkey," in my total ignorance.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I became a Grecophile and haven't managed to go back to Turkey.
All right.
But can you imagine saying to a Greek who says, "Have you been to Greece?" and you say, "Oh no, one day I'd like to go, but I have been to Turkey."
It's not the best.
I think that's one of the daggers left in my heart of faux pas.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure people do that all the time. To be honest, the little things like that. So yes, thank you for sharing your collection with us. That's really lovely to see that. So I think we'll now go back to so we have our next episode. I think the 13th.
Yes, we need to talk about really.
So if we
proper.
Yeah. So hopefully everybody's on the 13th sign. So again, on the chapter section, it says chapter 1's going away. So if everybody wants to get onto going away, just give them a few seconds to do that.
Going away.
Oh yeah. That's the 13th sign, which is the next one. On the DVD, it's split into chapter titles, and the first one is called Going Away. So
it's called Going Away. Yeah.
So,
I only knew them, and so to this day I know them by numbers, because when we were shooting them, we didn't have a title for anything.
Oh, okay.
It was just episode something. Yeah. And that's kind of more in my head.
You just look a bit dark. And
I've gone.
Well, it's my fault for making you move, but
I put a light on.
Yeah.
And that confused it. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do yet.
Did you want to turn the light off again, or would that
turn the light off? I guess.
So yeah, that might be a pain.
It's very strange. It might know what to do now, but I'm not sure. Yes, it does. You see.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Instead of it making good lighting on me, it just. Oops. I'm just adjusting my setup.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay. I think we're ready for the episode now. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and play. So 13th sign was the episode that you wanted us to focus on. What made this episode particularly special from your point of view?
Well, the stunt of Catweazle flying off was really quite something.
Yes.
And the balloon stuff, and I a bit loved that. We had an absolutely wonderful stunt man who had twin daughters. He had a mixed marriage, and he had these 2 beautiful daughters. They were about 14, and one was black and one was Caucasian looking.
Yeah.
And he did that flying. I've forgotten his name, unfortunately. But seeing that fly off the roof or whatever it was is quite something, I think. Very sad. I mean, it was. We felt sad because it was the end. I mean, it really was the end. But I think we dreamt that there'd be another series. Actually, we had this false hope.
Because I was wondering, because it seems when you watch it now very, very final, even if you didn't know it was the last one, it has a feeling of a last episode.
You could imagine that he'd finish up somewhere else and another family, but I think we knew that it wasn't going to happen.
Was there a reason why it was that, or it just?
No, I mean, money or the times, or I mean, I am not privy to knowing what goes on between producers and exhibitors. All I am is with the director and the floor, really. I mean, I am responsible to the production manager, and I know a little bit of the down one level of the politics.
Yeah.
But it's the producers and the financing that is the key to what's going to happen or not happen.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You get asked to do a film and it doesn't get green lighted, and it does and it doesn't. There's all that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know that obviously this series obviously was shot very quickly, a lot quicker than the first series. But I think the first series was very successful, that everyone was really excited to make a second series, and it was recommissioned very quickly. So I would have thought, and I think it was very much aimed at the American market as well, having the manor house and the lord and lady.
Yes, I really don't know whether Americans would have absolutely lapped it up, or thought, what stuffy English, lower aristocrats.
Yeah. So I think it was very successful when it was made, the first series. So it almost sounds like it was deliberately intended to just do 2 series, because regardless of what the ratings actually did, by the time they actually shot it all, I don't think it would have mattered in that respect. Because obviously in the last episode, the episode before this that we were just watching, Catweazle can't go back in time. He jumps in the water and he can't go back. So you do get a sense of where does he go.
Yes, well, yes, yeah. I mean, he could have flown off and landed somewhere else, but he's taught me about the 13th star or month that is a real issue now. There's a million people believing what he believed, which was looking for the 13th.
Oh yeah. So as you were saying, all the episodes didn't have a title when you were working on them. So was it all there in those scripts from the beginning, or was it very quickly? Was it written as you went, or was it quite sort of?
We were kind of waiting. I mean, we always had the script well in advance, but we would have wanted it, that some departments would have been happier if they had it that much more in advance. But for me, they were always soon enough.
Oh yeah.
And something personal I've forgotten to tell you is that I have 2 sons, and one son at this point was put off school for having done something terrible, like smoking behind a shed or something. And so he was banned from school at that point. And so he came with me every day, and he worked on Catweazle in the catering department. Yeah. And early in the morning, I taught him to drive. The house where we were shooting had a perfect garden and roads and things. So a drive, I mean. So I taught him to drive, and he was 14. That was a terrible mistake, because a year or so later, I was on location in Devon on a horror film, and he decided, age 15, to drive my car every day for a little spin, and eventually he hit a bollard.
Right.
And he and his friend backed it off the bollard and drove home and hid, and thought that they were going to get caught. He then took the car to the Ford dealer, the Ford mender, the most expensive mending garage in the whole of Harrow, and he got it mended for £100, which was like £1,000 now. I came back from location; they hadn't delivered it back yet. No car. Anyway, I kind of kicked him all the way up the stairs, screaming at him that I didn't want a criminal for a son, and this is absolutely the most dreadful thing that you could have done, to do anything criminal. So now, of course, we laugh, and now he's this well-known Dutch Oscarish winning post-production sound man, very respectable, very, very respectable.
Oh yes. I mean, it's very resourceful to go and get it fixed, and quite clever in that. You've got to admire that side of it. So one of your sons is based in did you say one is in America? Or
one is in Pasadena, who is a guitarist and musician, writer, and so on. And the other one that I speak of is in Amsterdam. whereby I have to go to America every now and again to see that son there and his daughter, who's 16.
Yeah.
And I go to Amsterdam a lot, but he comes here. So, but now I haven't seen either of them, of course, for well over a year.
Oh yes, yeah, of course. Yeah.
But I will be going to Amsterdam as soon as it looks. I mean, we're way ahead in safety than Holland. They're way behind us in doing their stuff. So I can't really go there. America is behind us as well. So I'm really not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think a lot.
I'm just going to do lovely live chats with you, I hope, for the rest of the year.
I'm happy to do that. Yes, we just pick some films in your career and we'll go from one end to the other if need be. So
I mean, it's amazing and wonderful that there's an audience for these old films and good old films and slightly rubbishy old films and cult. But I'm really the most famous for doing 2 or 3 terrible films which have become cult favorites. Yeah. So that was quite good.
I mean, why do you think that is? Because obviously you've got some very
because I so many years, I mean 62 years of worth, and just people offering me the right films or the wrong films or whatever. So I never wanted to do big like Bonds or except spoof Bond, big blockbusters. They didn't come my way, and it isn't being jealous of it. I just did not want to do that. I wanted action, okay, like five cameras on an action scene like Delta Force and River Kwai. But I preferred drama, thrillers and drama. So Jonathan Rigby, who did a lovely interview with me at the Cinema Museum, had a night there, and he said, looking at what I've done, it covers the whole spectrum of, from porn to low budget to medium. So we had a little laugh at the time, and it's true, but it just happened. I never refused to do anything unless I wasn't available or something like that. Whereas I had a wonderful friend, and her name was Mary Dallas, and she had principles. So if she was offered, she was actually offered the Craze, I think. And she's no, it was a bit of a soft porn film which ran out of money. What wasn't Craze, and she started it, and after 2 days she said, "Oh, I really can't be doing this. It's disgusting," and so on. And she passed it on to me, and I did it. And it's featured in Man Alive documentary. When David McVilivray was 23 at the time, I was probably 30 at the time, and we now are big friends. But we were both in this Man Alive, and that's quite significant because they did this particular Man Alive was called Sexploitation, and they followed anything porn that was being made at that time and talked about it. Ours was very, very, very soft porn, and it was kind of, now it would be children's time on television.
Yes, it's amazing how like the old Dracula films with Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, very scary in their day, but now they're given a PG or 12 rating at best, if not a universal. So it's sort of interesting how people's what tolerance, and also what was sort of we've almost got a bit used to it, haven't we? So seeing violence on the screen or sex or whatever it might be. So it seems to be always pushing the boundary of what is acceptable on the screen. Is that something that you noticed in your career, sort of going on? This sort of things got pushed and pushed.
I mean, I really did not notice any bad behavior from anybody within my sight, I could say, or within, not never mind sight, knowledge, because you know what's going on. I know casting couch was suggestive, but I never heard anybody being damaged, hurt, highly insulted, or forced into anything.
Good standards.
I probably, England was mildly good and pathetic, whereas Hollywood was a different story. You could probably put it like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, going back to Catweazle, this particular episode has some quite interesting props with the prop treasure that Cedric finds in the attic. Do you have any particular props from something like Catweazle that were particularly memorable or difficult, or something went missing, got broken, that sort of thing?
No, only his animal, his beautiful animal.
Yeah.
I can't think of what the word is for such an animal.
Oh,
it's a magician's. Not my friend. It's called your something.
Yeah,
my familiar.
Yeah, familiar. Yes, he calls
familiar.
it.
Yeah, familiar. I was in love with his familiar. Yeah.
And was it always the same frog, or was it kind of, sometimes you have multiple, cats or dogs or whatever it might be, but I mean, obviously, do you remember we talked about the balloon sequence? Again, I imagine that must have taken the majority of the time for that episode to do this scene.
The sound's gone very quiet, and I can't hear you.
I was just saying.
Shout. I'm very hard of hearing, so you better shout. No, I'm not actually.
Well, we're on the balloon sequence now. He's just discovered the balloon.
The balloon, yes. Yeah. Oh, I love that balloon. Yeah. They let me go up because we shot him in the balloon with some dialogue.
Yeah.
And we were about 6 feet off the ground, but we actually went up, and I went up in it. And that was like great honor. And on Round the World in 80 Days, I also managed to get in a balloon and up, but that was hard work. I mean, that was proper dialogue under difficult circumstances. So twice I've been in a balloon.
And what made it difficult on Around the World in 8 Days? Obviously, apart from say the content of the.
Well, the fact that you're in shot, it's such a small space that wherever they put the camera onto the actors, there's nowhere for me to hide. So you can't, for some reason, can't get under the camera, can't get beside it. Got to go in a kind of a cupboard, as it were. I've had to shoot sitting in a loo in Hong Kong, in a plane on the tarmac, actually be in the loo, and in France on a Jack Gold film in a little tiny scullery that you couldn't really stand up in. So we're used to being a bit of a nuisance on the set sometimes.
Yeah. Obviously, go back to some memories of Catweazle. Do you have any particular other fond memories that you would like to share from the production?
There's kind of nothing that I haven't said that I can think of. Really.
Anything that was difficult, or
no, but because his hair had to be exactly the same, and it was. It wasn't, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's that. So that was very easy. He's always in the same costume. So the most is he's got dirty hands, or he hasn't got dirty hands. And I'm phobic about actors or characters having to have dirty fingernails. You get the crowd sometimes on a film, and they've got beautifully, it's a period where there were no loos, and there were just gullies in the street where they pooed and peed. And these poor peasants, as it were, or townspeople, have got clean fingernails or hands. So I was a bit of a nuisance and phobic on that. But most else, the makeup and the director and took care of those sort of things. But I can remember being always looking, checking.
Oh yeah.
Not continuity, but art department virtually.
Yeah, because obviously the first episode of the series is obviously based in the Norman times, and then he goes into the present day. So it must have been quite fun to have done that version with because obviously Peter Butterworth was played both roles, as did Molly Watson as well. So it must be quite nice to do the period side of it as well as the modern day.
Yeah. Yes. I don't think I ever worked with Geoffrey Bayldon on anything other than that. And that was that nearing the end of his career?
Well, I think Geoffrey is somebody that a bit like Clive Dunn from Dad's Army, where always played older roles, and I believe Geoffrey turned down Doctor Who that William Hartnell went on to play because he just didn't want to play another old man. He was kind of perhaps a bit stereotyped, even 7 or 8 years previous to this.
Juve just said that he was in Casino Royale. That's good news.
Yes, he was. Yes.
Whose episode? Not my episode.
I'm trying to think who would have been.
He may have been in my episode, but I don't think so. That's great to know, but terrible that I didn't know. He played Q. Wow.
It's with Peter Sellers. So that would have been Joe McGrath that would have shot that, because obviously Peter didn't do anything, I think, other than with Joe, as far as I'm aware. So I've managed never to see Peter Sellers or work with him. I mean, big loss, but very strange. Yeah, but yeah, Geoffrey's very good in that role as Q, and he plays his actual age. So obviously he naturally looks younger than he is in Catweazle, even though this is a few years after that.
He was playing barristers and in court room stuff over the years, I know.
I think just have a comment to say, Geoffrey continued. His last credit was Ladies in Lavender. I think that was a Judi Dench film. That must have been about 10 years ago or so. But I think he did go to quite a few conventions, I think, during the last few years of his life. And he didn't. I think he was going to go to the one that you and I went to, but I think he was going to go like the year before or the year after. I'm not sure when it would have been. But I don't think he actually was able to attend. I think his health took a bit of turn for the worse, I think, at that point. But he was still very actively involved in meeting fans and that sort of thing. So what, in your opinion, make Catweazle such the sort of time of the show, and why people like ourselves are bothering to talk about it? What makes it special for you?
Yeah. Well, just because it was such a, to me, unusual situation. If it were a feature film made in Hollywood, it would have been very, very good at some point. It would never have been a feature here, but it could have been when I was, say, in 1933, when I was a child of sorts. There could have been such a funny film, but I don't know. I mean, it was just a lovable, weird thing to come up with, the Richard Carpenter. Very, very strange premise, really. He must have had to fight with it at the beginning for anyone to be really taking it seriously and want to make it.
Yeah, I would have thought so. Yeah, yes, it's something that on paper may not look like it would be a success, but obviously it was.
I mean, you know, what a mind to suddenly think, oh, I'm going to write this extraordinary, ridiculous, wonderful, not series particularly, but story.
And also so much about it being the same story but 13 parts, and it's very
with enough of a link.
Because I didn't really know anything about Catweazle until we started having our conversations, and I was looking into your body of work, and that was, you know, and otherwise I don't think I would know what Catweazle was.
Isn't that that's really very moving for me to hear. Yeah. And, I mean, you realise now, or I realised, I mean, I was always very proud of having done that, or if not proud, pleased, very, very pleased. And I was, you know, pleased that I did New Avengers, and pleased that I did Dial 99. Now, I had it really, really good being offered TV series, which one hadn't even known were going to be made until you get the offer, because often we don't know what's going on, how long someone's fought to get something going.
Oh yeah. The journey to get it made is, you know, 1 in every 10 don't get, you know, it's only 1 in every 10 that goes into production, and it's a very sort of difficult business. I would also say, I don't know if you're aware, and I wasn't aware until I was researching for tonight, but they have actually remade Catweazle. There's a German film coming out. I think it's maybe a week's time or so, and it's a feature-length film this time around. And I think it's not got a cast that I'm familiar with, because I think it is very much, you know, for the German market. But so somebody has decided to sort of give it new life. I think is quite interesting. Because when I first started to watch this, I thought it was reminded me almost like a bit of the magic of Wurzel Gummidge, and, you know, obviously that recently got remade, and I thought, oh yeah, they could do that, and behold, somebody's done it. So
Uwe's just said it's something awful. Whatever it is, the film that we're talking about is.
I mean, I think the film hasn't come out. I think it literally comes out in about a week's time. But how can it be as good as what we've just seen? So I think it's the. Oh yes, Yuri says got a German.
Oh my goodness! Oh really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
wow.
It'd be interesting to see what that's like, but I think it will be a bit of a disappointment for most people, I would have said.
Well, I mean, the devotees and the purists will be horrified. He's a special brand of comedian, Otto.
It doesn't sound promising, does it? Unfortunately, and I think it's something very British.
Well, I mean, there's room for a dreadful version of Catweazle to be a Catweazle.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new.
I mean, if you're not gonna have Jeffrey or a clone, you shouldn't have John Pertwee's ghost or great grandson doing it.
Yeah.
You can have a completely different, but I suppose it's not nice to call him Catweazle. I mean, it could be. He shouldn't be Catweazle, should he?
No.
It shouldn't be a remake or a make of Catweazle, and he isn't Catweazle.
Yeah, showing perhaps loosely inspired by perhaps
Catweazle. You know, I mean, just call him something that's near enough to Catweazle.
Yeah,
it does exactly the same things, but he's not called Catweazle.
Yeah, I think that would be a better direction.
There'll be people aged not your age, but my son Mark's age, that generation and the previous generation, like mine, who'll be mortified seeing a wrong Catweazle.
Yeah, I think the only perhaps good thing is that some people will always like anything, won't they, for various reasons, and they may discover this series.
I mean, we took, I mean, you know, we took someone playing Bond, a different Bond, all those years.
Yeah.
Uwe's mortified already. So am I. But we were forced to. I never accepted a Bond other than Sean Connery.
Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, I did not accept, and I really never looked at them.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think
that's people... So that's a sort of a very, very narrow attitude, but yeah.
Yeah, I think yes. I grew up with watching Roger Moore, and I think as soon as you see somebody else almost invade your childhood memories, as it were, sort of it is.
Well, it's a disillusionment beyond acceptance, isn't it?
But I think when I got older, I sort of think, well, hundreds of people have played Hamlet. Why can't two?
Yes. Why can't? Yes, exactly. That's very true. That's very true. I suppose we lived Catweazle as if we were really his familiar, or I don't know. When it's Hamlet, I guess, or Romeo and Juliet or whatever, we don't really put ourselves in that situation.
Yes, I see what you mean. Yes, yeah, it's more personal, isn't it? You know, the connection we have with a character like that. I think Uwe said that the Carpenter's Heirs took Richard's name off the new films coming out, so obviously that's not a good sign. But I don't mind him having done that. I mean, that's how we're speaking about it anyway. So yeah, really. But we'll reserve judgment,
but I mean, what's very extraordinary and rather wonderful is that Catweazle proper was such a sensation with us at the time.
Yeah.
That there's still the producers of this new Catweazle that shall be not mentioned know that it was so good and so magic that two generations later are going to want it, accept it, and they're going to want it, accept it with the same title. So it's a bit strange. It's very strange.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's an original character, Hamlet, or say Dracula. And well, he's saying that Catweazle kind of existed.
Yes, I agree with that.
Thing,
yeah,
which I didn't. If that is so, then I can accept this Otto who's doing it.
Yeah.
But I didn't think he was a real dramatic character.
Yeah, I think
that Richard Carpenter resurrected.
Yeah.
What are you going to say to that, Louis?
I think that's a good point. That I suppose with Bond and Hamlet.
Oh no, he's the original.
That there is a book, and therefore you can interpret a book 100 different ways. I guess, but I suppose with a character, say like Inspector Clouseau, it's very much Peter Sellers, and then you remake it with Steve Martin, and it's sort of it's more of a no-go area than say Hamlet or Pride and Prejudice. I do agree on that. It's kind of a bit sort of a different.
Well, they should be doing Catweazle at kindergarten every year now from now on.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice. It would be nice if it was sort of more seen on more TV and introduced, and it's something that you would like to see it on the school curriculum or something like that, really. Because I think everybody in secondary school in history, we also used to watch lots of Blackadder and things like that. So
Yeah,
therefore,
yeah,
why not something like
yeah,
this
yeah,
that
yeah.
does teach you a bit about the superstitions, the myths, and all that sort of thing. So I think it has an educational side to it as well. And I think Catweazle is actually in the English dictionary now because of the series, and also
Really,
electrically
electric.
that's also in the dictionary as well. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
become
yeah, yeah.
part of the vernacular, I suppose. There was one guest star. Well, there's obviously quite a few guest stars in your Catweazle episodes. Obviously, Kenneth Kopp is in it, who was obviously in Randall Hopkirk.
Kenneth Coop.
Oh, so Cope, sorry, Kenneth.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Oh, got. He was very interesting, attractive guy with a very nice wife, actress.
Yeah.
Who was a Renée something or other. And he did lots of, no, he didn't, he did lots of work, obviously, but I worked with him a couple of times. Yeah. And there was an actor who actually hung himself, I think, in reality, whose name I can't remember, which is very disrespectful.
I'll see if I can find the person that we're thinking of.
Sort of dark. I mean, very English, but dark, high cheekbones and dark, and had some black hair like this. And I don't know what episode he was in, but he did take his own life.
Oh, so sad. I'll see if I can find more information.
And if it isn't, if I've got it wrong, it's from another series, but I'm pretty sure it was
on there. One of the guest stars that I thought was particularly good was Ronald Lacey, as I think he played the character called Tearful Ted. He was a sort of like a tramp vagabond that sort of steals from the manor house, and then there's lots of farce in the actual episode. Do you remember Ronald Lacey at all? Because you did work with him.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And I saw him at South Bank. I think, or was it Michael, another redhead, Michael Medwin? No, I think the South Bank was Michael Medwin, not Ronald Lacey. But I do remember him really, really well from I don't know what else. Unfortunately,
because he did the Catweazle episode, but he also did the Midas Touch, the New Avengers episode as well. So he was in those two. It might have cost more than just that.
I knew him. I think he was also a Val Guest used actor in Val's speeches. I seem to think, but I didn't know. I didn't meet him from Catweazle. I knew him really well before.
Yeah. Because for those who don't know, you worked an awful lot with Val Guest, didn't you, over the
Yeah, at one point, everything he did, like Jack Gold, which I did everything he did for 8 years. Everything that Val did, I did for a few years, and we would have done more, but circumstances, weren't. But he was great to work with because he plotted every setup the night before and did drawings, and it's on a board, and he more or less kept to it. Film directors in those days did not do that at all. They did it in latter years because television works like that, because they plotted every single setup. So if it's a television director you're working with, he's got a today's plan, not just a list of shots, but angles. Whereas a creative, David Lee, has got no drawings and notes like that. It's on the night, on the day, that the actual finesse of a shot will set up, I should say, will happen. So it was a shock to me to getting Val Guest in the first place. That was a very nice shock. And then I didn't get anybody like him until, as I say, television directors were doing everything.
You mentioned Michael Medwin just a while ago. What was Michael like as a person?
Careerist Michael.
Oh, Michael, was it Medwin you said you met at the South Bank?
Oh, Medwin. Oh no, yeah, no, he was just a lovely guy who had more talent and potential that I knew of him as an actor, because he then, did production stuff. But I didn't know he was going in that direction.
Yeah.
But it was lovely, humorous. There are actors who have good sense of humor, and they are all the time quipping in a humorous manner.
I did meet him a few years ago. He was very lovely to meet, and he'd done a part in one of the Bond films with Sean Connery, so I knew him from that angle. So he was a very nice guy. You just said wasn't Paul Eddington in one of Catweazle episodes?
Say that one again.
Paul Eddington. Does that name ring a bell?
Yes, I think I absolutely loved him, and he did great things after that. Yes, Minister, I think, probably, or something like that.
Oh yes, he played the magician in Catweazle, and then Catweazle.
Indeed, yes.
Yes.
He did. No, he was a joy, an absolute joy. But we had some quite interesting people that we haven't mentioned in odd episodes. I can't think of anyone to say at the moment, but I had it good, because suddenly you get this interesting actor.
Oh yeah. I think that's probably part of the key of its success is the fact you've had such established actors that talent in front of them and behind, which made it such a quality.
And it's amazing actually that the casting director or the producer both managed on Catweazle and New Avengers, or whatever, to get high class, small part or big part, well-known people for a very small amount of screen time in our respective episodes. Cameo roles.
Oh yeah.
Star cameo role. Yeah.
I did have an audience question from Andy. He was watching the Chain recently. I don't know if you remember.
I saw it the other night. I was at a friend. I'd escaped from my house for 2 minutes, and I was with this friend, and suddenly the Chain was on the screen, and she said, "Oh, I don't want to watch a movie." And I said, "Well, you're going to have to watch this now because it's mine." And we watched it, and I remembered every single shot, every single setup in it, and I loved it at the time, and it had oh God, I can't think of their names at the moment, so that's not going to help. Very good cast, and they all played over the top, and it actually wasn't the happiest film I've ever been on, I have to say.
Oh, right.
And it was the end of my 8-year stint with Jack Gold, but he didn't do anything after that specifically that I would have been on. And we laughed, and I met him later, and he said that all these my 8 years working with Jack Gold, where I refused pictures from other people if I thought Jack was going to do one. So the Chain was, the swan song. And at that point, I got offered films in the Philippines, which at the age I was not really what I wanted to do, but I did it. And these big directors, Hollywood directors, would phone Jack Gold as to find out if I was any good, I think. And Jack Gold told me afterward, jokingly, I raved about it. I said, "You're absolutely wonderful, just to get rid of you." And he said it was like a stale marriage. It was like and I said it was, in a way, because he absolutely loved me. He must have me on every single film. And on the chain, he'd get irritated. He'd hear me turning a script page, and he'd turn around as if I'd kind of coughed or sneezed or blown a bubble.
Yeah.
And it was very, very strange. And he was like irritated by me a bit. And he was irritated by Gary White, the first assistant. And we were in Wembley shooting, and we said, both of us, I don't think we want to do this anymore. And it was a very strange thing, because he'd worked with Jack all those years. And I don't know really what had happened, but Jack really laughed with me. And when he saw me over the years, he used to do a cross thing, and then love, love, love.
Yeah.
But that was the story, a bit of the story of the chain. It was very good. And watching it, seeing Leo McKern at the Black Boy, and then Leo McKern, that link. When I saw it at my friend's house, I'd a bit forgotten that Leo McKern finished up with that boy's mother in the house where he'd grown up. And I watched it last night again, properly. It was again. And I could watch it over and over and over again, actually. I could. And yet it was known as a very, very good piece for television, not a piece for the cinema. So it was not a success at all.
Well, I think some of the best things.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. This is like a little touch of heaven.
Oh, good. Yeah, I think.
Who else am I? Where is my audience for these? This or one man or a conversation about such things.
Yeah.
I have to say, in my dotage in number of years, I've got a friend in Chicago who I talk to for 3 hours at a time about film and what I did, and did I work with this director. So I've got him, which is absolutely wonderful. Who really wants to hear all this? So he wants to, which is gorgeous, and I love him dearly. And these programs, you and I, and you and the people that come on these programs want to hear these things. Now, it could easily have happened that no one ever wanted to hear about these things. Odd article in Films and Filming or something, but not this daily, weekly, monthly stuff of eagerness and kindness and interest. So I wish I'd actually had a proper drink, because I could say all this even in a better flow. But I am, when I remember, like the luckiest person on earth. Don't always remember it. I mean, I know I'm all right, but I am. It's inconceivable that we're having this conversation now, and we have them like every week. Is it not? If you think about it.
Very regularly, yes. It's quite regular, yes. Every few weeks, that's certainly, yeah. But we haven't. I think we spoke a couple of, was it a week and a half ago, and then 2 weeks before that. So right, very
and there's this fascination, this interest, common interest, which would bore the pants off people that were not interested in this. Not non-film goers. There are millions of them, and they would want this conversation about television actors, I suppose, and crew, perhaps. They never talk to crew, do they? You see a million interviews. You never see a television camera lighter or a floor manager or talking.
No, you don't. You don't.
Poor things. They're going to have to wait, until they've done 62 years worth of it, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's focused so much on the in front of camera talent that you don't. And some of the most interesting people are the people behind the scenes. That they know it perhaps more intimately than the actor who just came in for a week, went off somewhere else. Whereas people like yourself lived and breathed, for a long time. So it's unfortunate that they don't have more attention. Or did you just say something? You had said you're very special, Renée, and I think we'd all
Me,
agree.
very special, but he's very special as well. And we've had many extraordinary, not nights, I may mention, evenings together.
Yes. So, because obviously you've got lots of people that are very interested in your work, and I think I mentioned to you that the new Avengers episode that we did, we had over 100 views in, I think, 3 days it was on YouTube. So I thought that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember you telling me.
I think I might have messaged you. I think on Facebook perhaps. We had 100 views in over 100 views in 3 days.
View. Yes. So no. Yeah. No, you did, and I thought that's absolutely wonderful. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, and on the McGillivray series, which is now mostly him interviewing gay models, gay porn clubs, which stars of, very interesting. But started off with Matthew Sweet, me, and a couple of not extreme people. Anyway, my one and Matthew Sweet are the most viewed out of 13 or 14 or 15.
Oh, good.
That's nice. And then I got your news, so I really like that, because this is not me being modest at all, but rolling back, I thought no one would be remotely interested in hearing what I had to say as a festival of films.
Yeah.
And they were kind, they weren't falling about, I have to say, because a technician, they really want an actor or actress. That's who they're there to see, and a director. They really don't want a first assistant director. I mean, they like him. They don't want a film editor. They'll like him. But anyway, I started getting invited as a sort of like a poor relation, as it were. But then it grew into people actually really being interested. But they were mostly, what was it like working with that actress? Was she that, glamorous as we think she is, and so on and so on. So it developed into grown-ups being interested.
Yeah.
I didn't. And the first time I did anything was at ATV when it was a week of training PAs to do continuity on exteriors on film for TV.
Yeah.
And I had to make a speech, as it were. It wasn't Q&A, it was addressing them. And I'd never done that before anyway. But almost up to the point of doing it, I was so frightened that I thought my head was going to burst. It was ill.
Yeah.
And my great niece, who was a child actress but became an adult, Renée Glynne, she said, just remember that they don't know anything of what you're saying. You know more than them. And that kind of was phase one of saving my life. And then, of course, now I'm so smug and confident, and I can't wait to do the next thing and let that lay back doing it. But it was so frightening. having been behind the camera, that's where you belong. You cue actors.
Yeah.
You act telephone calls, but
Mm.
that's it.
Mm.
That's absolutely it.
Yeah.
But now all I want to be is in front of the camera, being an actor like now, or being an actress in a film.
Mm.
So I did one 2 years ago called Genie, which is coming out this year from this wonderful director who did Brass Young Turks. He made Brass Young Turks. And he's done this thing, and he sent me a message which has got buried in my computer and I can't find it, where he says it's being released at the end of this year, and it goes to the white East End cinema called whatever it's called, a very lovely cinema, independent. Not Aldgate, Whitechapel or somewhere.
Yeah.
I know the name of it. I've been there 100 times, but I can't remember. And he also said he's got a part for me, a cameo role, he calls it, at the end of this year.
Oh,
so that's all gone to my head, puffed up.
Well, it sounds very, very nice. So yeah, very nice indeed. I'll keep an eye out for that film.
Yeah, well, I shall tell you. I mean, you could see something about it that I don't see. But someone would probably alert me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
he will alert me, and I can't imagine how I lost this message from him.
Well, I think Spartacus wants your.
Do you think we've talked ourselves hoarse, or whatever you like to call it? Talked ourselves out.
I think we've had a very good chat. I know Spartacus does want some of your attention now, and quite rightly so.
No, I'm having to give him anything to eat. He was having a little hump before on his favourite cushion. He's not a humping dog at all. He only about like every 3 months. Whereas I had a dog staying, his boyfriend stayed, and he every night at 7:30 he arranges the cushions on his chair into the right position and humps. And he's a small pom with that long hair, and he doesn't look ridiculous, but he's like humping a big stuffed duck or something. But he doesn't do that, and then he feels guilty about it. I hope I haven't made him feel guilty. But he was having a little hump before. Now he wants food and attention, and
so before I let you go, Renée, is there anything last you want to say about?
He's making so much noise I can't hear. No, stop it.
I was just saying before we go, was there any last comment you wanted to make about Catweazle or anything else? Or?
Well, it's just there's nothing new to say, and I will have to have a look at Otto playing Catweazle at some point. But Catweazle was Catweazle, and I'm sorry I wasn't on the first series as well. I mean, I've got the odd regret here and there.
Yeah.
The odd film that I didn't get or wasn't offered to me, and the odd director that I didn't work with, that I was nearly going to work with. Stephen Frears is one of my regrets, and I met him recently. Well, stop! You can't have this. You can't have this. No, you can't have this. No. So I met him socially, and I said, you're my sort of one of my regrets. I never worked with you, and he was so lovely to me, and he actually knew about me, which was extraordinary. I've forgotten what I'm saying really, so I don't know what I was saying, but Catweazle is up there in a capsule forever.
It's quite high on your highlight.
I mean, so a lot of things, but definitely Catweazle very important. Because Ernie Robinson was on the first series, Mark Glynne was on the second series with me, plus I was with Jeffrey as Catweazle, and that crew and Carl Manning, and I mean, all the magic. And I can now go and dream of Catweazle.
I think we all will, yes. So, well, thank you very much, Renée, for
thank you. More than you can. What's he saying? It's lovely seeing you. Too long we haven't met.
Lovely seeing you again.
Exactly, you. Exactly. Come.
Take care.
Come, stay with me.
So, thank you very much for joining us, Renée. Thanks to all that joined us either live here or on YouTube later on. And I'm sure we'll talk. Well, obviously we've got our Casino Royale event planned for quite shortly. So we'll look forward.
Can't wait for the next event.
Me too. Yes.
Today, up to part of today, for some reason, I was feeling a bit not uneasy about doing it at all. Not uneasy, yes. But I was kind of preoccupying myself. And I don't know why it was, but I've enjoyed every second of it, and I enjoyed the hour before we actually got going, where I was setting it up. I'm usually setting things up 3 days in advance, but because we shoot this in daylight, I can't light myself. You see, I can't spend hours preening and looking, have I got a nice shadow on one side of my face. So I wish it was night. It is night now.
Well, if you want, we could always start the Casino Royale one later.
Yeah. Can we do some at night? Yes, because if you look now, I mean, I will like how I look because one side of my face is a bit darker than the other. Yeah. So that would be very lovely, but it doesn't get dark till we'll be having to do them at midnight.
Well, I've done a couple, and because of I have audience that watches in America and Australia, that they quite like 8 p.m., 8:30. So we could. That's better.
And it will. I mean, it'll still be a bit daylight for us because it's not night till 10 o'clock. Come the summer, is it?
Yeah, but we should be a bit better than starting 7. So okay, we'll do
because
that.
I'm too mean to have blinds or curtains. If I had curtains, which you've got curtains, the world would be my oyster. But my windows, they've got making it soft light, but the garden has just got no curtains at all. So this light's coming at it. I mean, I suppose if I sat lit by that, in daylight, I would be happier, but I don't want to be up there. I want to be down here.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, there we go. Spartacus, now you say goodbye to anybody who's still there.
I'm not happy about something. But I'll let you two get on, and thank you very much for joining us. Pleasure as always, Renée, and I will speak to you soon.
Kisses to you, and kisses to Uwe and anybody else who's there. Absolute. Much love.
Much love to you too, Renée, and Spartacus. We'll see you both soon, hopefully. Okay, take care. Bye.